My biological parents dragged me before a judge because I purchased a home with my own money, and their reason made my blood run cold. I had just finished unpacking the last box in my new living room. When the sheriff's letter arrived, one moment I was admiring the hardwood floors I had dreamed about for half a decade, and the next I was reading legal language that painted me as some kind of thief. When I finally worked up the courage to call my father and ask what was happening, his response came without a single heartbeat of hesitation. That property was never meant for you. But here is what crushed me more than his words ever could. Because 24 hours later, my entire understanding of loyalty and blood ties shattered into pieces. I am still picking up today. My name is Amelia, and for as long as I can remember, I believed that keeping my family calm meant swallowing my own wants, grinding through exhaustion, and never reaching beyond what my own two hands could build. I was raised in a household where my father, Victor, announced every decision like it came down from a mountain, and my mother, Diane, softened those commands with tearful explanations about sacrifice. My younger sister, Chloe, never felt that weight. She drifted through her childhood, carried by their endless concern, their bottomless belief that she required more protection, more support, more everything than I ever did. I learned very early that the word fair did not exist in our kitchen or living room. Only expectations did. Still, I pushed forward. I threw myself into my career, logging late nights in front of flickering screens, reminding myself through every skipped vacation and homemade lunch. That discipline would eventually bite me the independence my upbringing had denied me. For 5 straight years, I hoarded every bonus, every overtime check, every spare dollar. No tropical getaways. No impulse purchases, no restaurant splurges. Each promotion just added fuel to a single burning goal. A roof over my head that nobody could question. A door I could lock. A home. The evening I finally told my family I had saved enough for a down payment, Diane clasped her hands together, like I had announced a miracle. "Dotto, sweetie, this is everything we've wanted for you," she said, lighting candles across the dinner table as if celebrating a holiday. Victor gave a single stiff nod. Smart financial move if you handle it correctly. For a fleeting moment, I felt something. Warm bloom in my chest. Brief, fragile. Then Chloe leaned backward in her chair, stirring her drink with a lazy finger, and said, "Must be amazing having that tech salary. Some of us are still drowning in student loans." Her tone carried no joke. It never did. I attempted a soft response. "You are climbing the ladder at your firm. You will get there." She said nothing. She did not need to. The temperature in the room dropped the same way it always did whenever my successes drew attention. She believed belonged exclusively to her. Have you ever had someone twist your hard work into an insult? Still, I forged ahead. I walked through open houses on Sunday afternoons, drove through sleepy neighborhoods after work, imagining an existence where nobody could edit my decisions. When I finally discovered a modest bungalow on a quiet lane at the edge of town, I knew it was not fancy. It was not perfect, but it felt like mine. Signing those closing documents released a breath I had been holding for years. What I did not realize was that this property, the one I bled for, would become the fuse that detonated every illusion I still carried about the people who raised me. 48 hours after I took ownership, I was sitting cross-legged on my new floor, surrounded by half-open curtains, when my phone started buzzing. Non-stop. At first, I ignored it. I was exhausted, still gripping a screwdriver dust on my jeans. But when my best friend Jordan's name appeared with the message "You need to see this immediately," something cold coiled in my stomach. She sent a screenshot, Chloe's public social media post, melodramatic, loaded with manufactured outrage. When your older sister uses the inheritance money grandma intended for your first home and buys herself a property, instead, hundreds of likes, comments flooding in from strangers calling me greedy, heartless, unbelievable. My throat closed. I read it twice more, slower, hoping I had misunderstood. But no, she was publicly accusing me of stealing cash that never existed. Money neither my grandmother nor anyone else had ever earmarked for her. Before I could even dial Jordan back, my phone rang again. Dad. I hesitated, then answered. Victor's voice came through, flat and official. Amelia, we need to discuss the situation regarding your house. I froze. What situation? Diane's voice drifted in from somewhere. Behind him, sweetheart, you understand? What we are talking about? Do not you. No, I said. I really do not. Victor exhaled like I was deliberately wasting his oxygen. Your mother and I have consulted a lawyer. The assets set aside for Chloe's future property were designated for her. You were aware of this. My heart hammered so violently I could feel it in my fingertips. What are you even saying? There was never any designated money. I bought this house with my own savings. Statements. I can prove every transfer. Silence. Then Victor delivered the sentence that cracked my reality. Straight down the middle, that house belongs to your sister. I sank onto the nearest stair. Dad, this is delusional. There is no agreement, no fund, nothing. Stop being difficult, he snapped. Your sister requires that house more than you do. She has been envisioning it for months, and now you have snatched it away from her. She never once told me she wanted this specific property. It does not matter, he said. We are filing tomorrow. My hand trembled so badly I nearly dropped the phone. You are actually taking me to court. Diane's voice joined in, dripping with wounded disappointment. We are only trying to make things fair for your sister. She deserves this. You can always find another one. Another one. As if 5 years of sacrifice could be regenerated like picking up a gallon of milk. The call ended without goodbye. I sat in the dim hallway of my new home, the walls echoing back a sense of betrayal I had never imagined, possible in my darkest forecasts. My parents were not confused. They were not misinformed. They had chosen a side, and it was not mine. What would you do when the people who raised you decide you are the enemy? That night, Jordan arrived with Chinese food and an expression that told me she already knew the whole ugly story. You are not losing your mind, she said quietly. They are literally trying to take your house. Behind her, Marcus stepped into the doorway. I had not realized he had come too. He crossed his arms. Amelia, brace yourself. They are not joking around. Your family is gearing up for an actual legal battle. I did not sleep. I sat at Jordan's kitchen counter with a cold mug of tea, staring at nothing while her apartment hummed around me. The shock had not faded. It had hardened into something heavier, something that made my ribs feel too tight. Jordan sat across from me. You are staying here, she said firmly. You should not be alone in that house, right? Now, I did not argue. I could not. The next morning, Marcus returned. Carrying a folder, I made some calls, he said, sliding it toward me. You need a specialist, someone who handles inheritance, conflicts, and property disputes. Vivian Hale is the best. I know. I blinked at him. Inheritance? There is no inheritance issue. He gave a humorless smile. Your parents are trying to invent one. Vivian met us that same afternoon. In her office overlooking the city, glass walls, soft lighting, everything. Sharp and poised just like her. She listened quietly while I explained. Everything from Chloe's social media, attack to Victor's courtroom threats. When I finished, she leaned back. Their claim sounds completely manufactured, she said. But weak cases can still cause massive damage if you do not handle them aggressively. We need statements, payment records, anything. Proving your house was purchased. Strictly from earned wages. I have all of it, I said. Every transfer, every savings log. Good, Vivian tapped her pen. Now we need witness accounts. Who knew the inheritance was split equally? My breath steadied for the first time in hours. My Uncle Robert and my Aunt Margaret. Contact them immediately, she said. We need their sworn statements as soon as possible. Robert answered on the second ring. Amelia, sweetheart, I heard something was going on. When I told him, he did not hesitate. Your grandmother would be absolutely furious, he said. I will sign whatever you need. Margaret's reaction was quieter but heavier. I always feared something like this might happen, she said. Your father, he asked your grandparents to change the will to give more to Chloe that they refused. He never accepted that. She paused. If you need me in court, I will be there. Piece by piece, the truth assembled itself into a shape I could finally recognize. This was not sudden. It was not really about me. It was the accumulation of years of unspoken preferences. Years of Chloe being assured things that were never actually hers. But the most disturbing moment came. 2 nights later, Jordan and I were walking up to my house to collect a few more of my belongings when we noticed movement. On the front porch, someone was fiddling with the door handle. Chloe held a key I had never given her, trying to jam it into the lock. "What are you doing?" I shouted. She jerked backward, startled. "I just thought I could look around by breaking. In it is going to be my house anyway," she snapped. That instant changed everything. Vivian called it exactly what it was. Attempted unauthorized entry. Evidence. And suddenly the fear I had been drowning in shifted into something steadier, something sharper. They wanted a legal war. Fine, they would get one. The courthouse smelled like old paper. An antiseptic, sharp, sterile, nothing warm about it. As I walked down the hallway beside Vivian, I felt every heartbeat echo off the walls. My palms were cold, my breathing uneven. I was not afraid of losing the property. Anymore, I was afraid of facing the people who raised me and realizing they were not the same figures from my childhood memories. Victor, Diane, and Chloe were already seated at the plaintiff's table when we entered. Victor straightened his shoulders the second he saw me, like a general preparing for combat. Diane looked away. Chloe stared at me with a mixture of entitlement and simmering bitterness, as if I was the one who had betrayed her. Vivian touched my arm gently. "Stay steady. Remember, we are not here to fight feelings. We are here to present facts." When Judge Elena Crawford entered, the room fell instantly silent. She carried the kind of presence that made you sit straighter without thinking. Confident, composed, done. With nonsense before it even started. "Let us begin," she said. "Have you ever walked into a room knowing everyone you loved had chosen the other side?" Bernard Langford, my parents' attorney, rose first. "Your Honor, this case involves a verbal family understanding regarding inheritance distribution, an understanding that Ms. Amelia violated when she purchased a property, using funds intended for her sister, Chloe. Verbal understanding, my stomach turned. He continued. Our position is that the home Ms. Amelia acquired was meant for Chloe according to long-standing family discussions. Vivian did not move, did not flinch. She simply waited for him to sit, then rose with all the calm confidence of someone holding an unbeatable hand. Your Honor, she began, the plaintiff's claim a verbal understanding. That has no witnesses, no documentation, and no mention in the legally executed will of the deceased grandparents. Meanwhile, the defendant has provided detailed payment records confirming that every dollar used to purchase her home came from 5 years of earned income. Judge Crawford nodded. Proceed. First, Bernard called Victor to the stand. My father took a breath and faced the courtroom like a man, finally, receiving the respect he believed he deserved. Diane always wanted Chloe to have assistance buying her first home, he said. It was understood. Amelia knew this. I clenched my jaw. Vivian placed a hand on my arm, grounding me. Bernard's next witness was Diane. Her voice quivered just enough to seem sympathetic. We are not trying to hurt Amelia, she said softly. We just want what was promised to Chloe. Promised. Another word with no backbone. Then Chloe was called Shoesmoot. Her skirt and gave a shaky breath. Performative, careful. I have been saving for years, she said. But I do not earn as much as Amelia. I thought she understood the house was meant for me. Bernard placed a comforting hand on her shoulder as she stepped down. Of course he did. Then it was Vivian's turn. She stood, spine straight, eyes sharp. Your Honor, we would like to call our first witness, Robert Hale. Uncle Robert entered with the steady dignity of a man who had nothing to prove. He took the stand and spoke. Clearly, the will was split evenly. No conditions, no special promises. I was in the room when it was read. Bernard tried to challenge him, but Robert did not budge. Next came Aunt Margaret. She moved slowly, but her voice was steel. Victor asked our parents to change the will to give Chloe more, she said. They refused. They believed. In fairness, the courtroom went still. Diane looked down. Victor's jaw tightened. Vivian thanked Margaret gently before calling me to the stand. As I sat down, the microphone felt too close, too loud. But speaking, the truth felt like oxygen. I saved for 5 years. I said I can account for every dollar. No inheritance. Money was used. Vivian handed the judge a neatly organized packet. These are the statements documenting 5 years of deposits, payroll, income, and savings transfers. Judge Crawford flipped through the pages with a keen eye. Noted. Then Vivian said, "Your Honor, we have one more matter to address. 2 nights before mediation, Chloe attempted to enter the defendant's property, using a key that did not belong to her." Chloe's head snapped up. I was not breaking in, I just wanted to look around. Vivian did not even glance at her. A neighbor recorded the attempt and called police. We have the report. Here, she handed it up. The defendant did not pursue charges, but this demonstrates a belief held by the plaintiffs that they were entitled to the house regardless of legal ownership. Bernard stumbled. That has nothing to do with. It has everything to do with entitlement, Vivian said calmly. And the core of this case, Judge Crawford held up a hand. Enough, the courtroom stilled under her gaze. I have reviewed all material. The will was equal. There is no evidence of any financial arrangement assigning funds specifically to Chloe, and the defendant's purchase was made entirely from her own earnings. She paused, letting the silence thicken. As for the attempted entry, that escalation is deeply concerning. Chloe's face, BLANCHED. I hereby dismiss the case in its entirety. A sharp crack of the gavel sealed. It dismissed with prejudice, Judge Crawford added, voice firm. The plaintiffs are barred from refiling these claims. My breath rushed out of me, not like relief, but like something heavy. Lifting off my chest for the first time in months, Diane covered her mouth, stunned. Victor's eyes flashed. With something dark, anger, disbelief, wounded pride. Chloe burst into tears. When we stepped into the hallway, Victor stormed after us. This is not over, he barked. We are still family. I turned to face him fully for the first time. Family does not take each other to court over lies. Family does not try to steal what someone else worked for. You chose this. Diane reached for my hand. I stepped back. I do not want to. Fight, she whispered. You already did, I said, and you lost. Chloe sniffled. I just thought it was supposed to be mine. It never was, I said softly. But you never wanted the truth. You wanted whatever you were promised. For the first time, she looked uncertain, almost small. Vivian stepped beside me. We are done. Here, she said calmly. And we were as we walked away, I did not feel triumphant. I felt steady. Whole free when I got home that evening. The sun was sinking behind the rooftops, washing the street in a soft orange glow for the first time in months. The sight of my own front door did not twist my stomach. I unlocked it, stepped inside, and let the quiet settle over me like a blanket. No tension, no fear, no one trying to rewrite what belonged to me. Jordan arrived first, carrying takeout, and grinning like I had just won a championship. You did it, she said, pulling me into a tight hug. Marcus followed with a bottle of sparkling cider. Not many people walk into courtroom against their entire family and walk out standing taller. Vivian came last, composed as always. But her smile was warmer than I had ever seen. Justice does not fix everything, she said softly. But it does give you room to breathe. Robert called to say he and Margaret were proud. They reminded me that my grandparents believed in fairness, always had. Tonight, I finally felt connected to that belief, not just by blood, but by choice. Family is not defined by who shares your DNA, it is defined by who stands beside you when everything falls apart. I did not just win a case. I won back my voice, my boundaries, and my right to exist without apology. I walked through my living room, touched the smooth edge of my newly finished table, opened my windows to let in the night air. This house felt different now. Not just a purchase, not just an address. It felt like mine again. Fully, unquestionably, mine. Have you ever had to fight for what was always yours? Standing in my doorway that night, I realized something simple and steady. Family is not defined by blood or tradition or the people who claim they know what is best for you. It is defined by the ones who show up when everything breaks. If you have ever had to battle for what is yours, or stand up to people who tried to rewrite your story, you are not alone. If this story hit home, hit that like button and subscribe to Karma Court. Files for more real-life justice. Served cold. Drop a comment below. I read every single one.